Hello there, Qckslvrslash, and today we have a video courtesy of Evarno in the Tier 8 British cruiser, the Edinburgh. And this was a ship I really enjoyed. I actually have really good stats in her. And I don't know if that's because I did particularly well or just on average people don't. And I could see it being the latter. This ship, like many of the British cruisers, is a bit of a glass cannon. If you can find a spot to place her on the map and just do damage and keep yourself from getting shot, you can do a lot of work. However, if a battleship finds you and you're giving her any kind of profile of the side of your ship, you are going to hurt. Now it's worth noting too, there's not a lot of ships in this battle. This was probably a very late night battle and someone was waiting in queue for quite some time. So the second it was possible to happen, the battle dropped with 8 ships rather than 12. And in some ways that can be fun, but it can also be very frustrating because on these bigger maps designed for more ships, you can see there's 2 ships out near A who are left completely alone and a good force here near D. Now it makes complete sense that Evarno is going to go into D here. The small lower islands give good concealment combined with the smoke and really 2 destroyers to worry about, but you've got the hydro, and these British cruisers do quite the job erasing destroyers when they catch them. And you've got a friendly Chungmu going in. It makes sense. The other thing I'll note is Evarno admittedly took a very long stay away from ships, probably like many, just to reset that enjoyment. Overplayed it, you can ruin it for yourself. You just get into these funks and it's safer to step away, play some other games, switch it up, and come back and still enjoy the game than completely destroy a game for yourself. So he also makes a couple silly mistakes that I'm going to attribute just from a bit of a lack of practice, but in the end this one is going to be a close battle. Now with this Donskoy running out the flank, Evarno is in a tough situation. Donskoy obviously has radar and is going to have his side, so you can see Evarno turning hard, trying to get north of these islands, just disengage from sailing in. Because if he sailed in there, he was in for a world of hurt. Because he'd get up near this island, more than likely be held bow in by all these ships here, and the Donskoy would have perfect broadsides and be able to work him down. So he gets himself out, dodges some torpedoes. You can see him just throwing his torps back at the Donskoy because, hey, she's going to make a push in. You never know. And that first set's actually looking half decent. But this Donskoy now is the one who I'd say has made the mistake. Evarno's managed to get a smoke up. Now, the radar could be coming, but the Donskoy is really charging in broadside on. So right now, if I'm Evarno, you're definitely wanting to get all your guns on, but you need to be cognizant that at any moment that Donskoy could pop his radar and have you, or, it's still one of the Russian cruisers with torpedoes. With the Chungmu charging in, radar is more than likely going to become, and uh-oh, there's the radar and the Chungmu eats a torp. That's most of him. This isn't looking too great for his team. There's the Donskoy's torps, and if I had to guess, that Chungmu is pretty screwed. Had to basically stop himself to duck under those torps. He's detected right now. You can see he's getting shot at. Fortunately, it only appears to be this enemy Moss. So, a shot from Evarno here, more than enough to scare him back behind the island. And the Chungmu actually survives. Now in the meantime, the friendly Alsace has decided it's going to go around the outside. And that's actually not a half bad move. You can see there's more of the enemy team over on the far flank. They've got 3 ships over there to the 2. So if these guys can just slowly fall back and just buy some time for this Alsace to get around, they're going to start getting some flanking shots one way or another. Either these guys north of the cap are going to be able to put broadsides in, or this Alsace is going to have broadsides. The only thing I would hope it doesn't do is go charging down this cap. You know there's a destroyer there, you know there's cruisers there, you're gonna get focused, and that's exactly what they decide to do. And that's just a frustrating one. I really don't think that was the right place for that ship to go. It's gonna get itself into a lot of trouble very quickly. You can see the Moss, he knows he's got to get out. We can guarantee there's torps coming at this Alsace. And the Donskoy and Richelieu are starting to put themselves in a position that, you know, they're going to have broadsides at the Alsace. There's the torps. Only one hits. A bit of luck there, or some bad aim on the Moss's part, but either way, the Alsace still alive for now, but looks like it ate a flood, and that flood is going to stick. And here's the enemy's Monarch. It was the one ship that hadn't been spotted, and it's now known where it is. Now fortunately, the Donskoy is not out here yet, and there is a Chapayev in the back. And as long as this Chapayev continues out towards kind of the 10 line to maintain vision, Evarno is actually in a very strong place here to put some damage down very quick. Now the Monarch's first volley lights a fire. You can see Evarno is just going to choose to let it burn. You know, it's only 15 seconds from being done, and the British heals are powerful on these cruisers, so he's going to be able to get a lot of that health back. Now the Donskoy coming this way. Obviously the threat of radar is a real one, so I like that he's trying to back up, you know, put a bit of this island between him and the enemy, and he's getting some pretty decent damage down. He showed up against this Monarch with about 10k, and he's already put 23,000 damage into the Monarch. And you can see how these British battleships can really eat a lot of damage just by shooting their superstructure. They're, I find, very squishy ships. I like the Conqueror, but the Conqueror can absorb a lot of damage, and it eats a lot of damage. It has that super powerful heal, but that's something the Monarch is missing. And this is what I was worried about. The Donskoy, she gets out, and, well, Evarno's caught broadside on, so he pins the throttle. Luckily, these British ships are very fast to accelerate, and he's got to get out. This is not a good situation for him if he sticks around. And for one reason or another, that Donskoy decides to switch targets, and is now far enough away, or getting far enough away, that the radar is no longer going to work. So it's completely possible for Evarno to slip back into that smoke if it was still up, though it's about to dissipate. It's really just got to try to preserve hit points, disengage. He's managed to go dark, he's held his fire long enough, and the heal's about to come up. That heal is going to take him from 14k back to probably mid-20s. And that will go a long way. Meanwhile, that Alsace, surprisingly, still alive. Not a lot of hit points, but still alive. And as a result, they've got a cap, so it's 2 caps apiece. Both teams have lost 1 battleship. And that St. Louis and Bismarck have done a good job just falling back. And you can see the Chungmu has decided, I don't want anything to do with this radar cruiser. Mogami, Fletcher, Eugen, he's going to run the mid. He's going to get into A and just go for a cap. Meanwhile, Evarno just using the island to block his, basically, detection, shooting. Unfortunately, the Richelieu finishes off the Alsace, or it's actually the Eugen that does. I thought it was the Richelieu, and that means probably going to lose this cap. But this is now a really good place for Evarno to get into, because he's got those torps. He can single fire them close range and pretty much wreck that Richelieu. Additionally, as he's used right now, he's going to get the smoke up and just try to put some damage down. Unfortunately, not getting the most in on this Richelieu. I probably wouldn't have smoked this far back. If it was me, personally, I probably would have gone in this gap here and kind of sailed down through the cap and use that hydro, which, you know, eventually will be back, and just positioning to kind of try to kite around that Richelieu. Now you can see Evarno trying to guess where the Rish is. And that's a valid play. He's reloads fast enough in this thing that if you can reset that cap, you want to, especially considering right now they're not building any points. The enemy team's got 2 uncontested. Their B cap's contested by his Fletcher up here, and the St. Louis is starting to get surrounded. And well, A hasn't been taken yet. I don't know what the Chung is doing. He's kind of just sitting in smoke, taking really long range pot shots at this Fletcher. Interestingly enough, the Eugen is almost dead, so if he saw that, he could just spin those guns around and probably finish off an enemy cruiser, but he's focused in on getting rid of, well, a cruiser that the St. Louis aptly finishes off. You can see the Mogami laying those quite effective guns, and it looks like she's running the smaller ones just from the rate of fire you're seeing from the Mogami, and the St. Louis starting to melt down a bit. Meanwhile, the Eugen managed to survive, and well, Evarno is in a tough spot here. Charged in and doesn't have a lot of outs, gets torpedoes off. You can see trying to turn, but there's no way he's going to be able to outturn this. Now the Donskoy is somewhere behind the island, still has shots, but fortunately this Richelieu is carrying himself outside of engagement range. So that may just give him enough time with the brakes to disengage momentarily. You can see the Donskoy, and well, those torps might hit, and they do. 2 of them definitely finishing off, and well, now it's time to try to work this Donskoy down. The Atlanta's coming in. Between all the cruisers here, they should be able to get rid of the Donskoy, and I have no clue what just happened. Really, that probably should have been Evarno's death. I think the Donskoy might have targeted the Atlanta and shot at Evarno, and that caused the shells to shoot really low. Fortunately, the smoke comes up. Evarno's safe for the time being. The Chapayev is basically just going to chase down that Donskoy. And at 10k health, the Chapayev, the rate of fire HE, no way that Donskoy should get away. The Chungmu finished off the Eugen, and well, Evarno managed to survive a little through luck, but you take what you can get. And with 2 caps back in control, the kills equal. The real deadly ship here that's remaining, I'd say, is the Moss, and the Atlanta pursuing him. Don't really know where the Richelieu is though, so that Atlanta has to be careful. You can see the Richelieu shells, and well, she gets finished off. So now it's 3 ships apiece. Fortunately, the Chapayev does finish off the Donskoy, and now for the first time this battle, Evarno's team is going to have map control. They're going to have 3 of the caps, and there's really no way they're going to lose those. Meanwhile, the Richelieu, based on her guns firing, is somewhere tight into this island, probably coming up. The Hydra is not going to detect her, I do not believe, and unfortunately isn't going to be around long enough to help find this Moss. So it comes down to, you got to get rid of something. What are you going to get rid of? And this Monarch provides a juicy target, but I'm definitely worried about that German destroyer. Particularly in something like the Edinburgh. You can very easily eat a lot of damage in this thing. And you can see Evarno there basically throwing torps at the edge of land. It's always a good idea. You know the destroyer was somewhere behind there. Maybe he's going to come charging out thinking, hey, I can get a kill here. It doesn't look like it though, because Evarno's now taking the cap. So that tells me either the Moss has gone out the back here, or basically circled out there. And well, here come the shells. Evarno turns in a bit. That could have cost him, but the island ends up breaking contact again. And well, there's the Richelieu, thankfully also behind the island. And you can see, this is why I really felt this would have been a strong place to push in on that Richelieu, because these islands are all big enough that they provide enough cover The Evarno, I really think, could have snuck up on that Richelieu quite well. As the Torps come up, he throws them out, looking for the Richelieu. Could really use some friendly support here. The Chapayev, I think, basically just run in, not on terrific health, but doing better than Evarno. Should be able to outspot something like the Richelieu. The Chungmu as well, and you can see the Chungmu is coming. And, well, Evarno's going to get forced to move here. The Richelieu behind, Moss in front. You take the lesser of two evils, which in this case is the Moss. Thankfully, the armor doing its job against that volley. And the Richelieu, once again, behind land and eats 3 of those Torps. Bit of luck, the blind Torps paying off. And that finishes off one more target. Gives Evarno first kill of the game, and now the Moss really has no choice but to try to push in. And you can see how effective this British AP is against destroyers. One more volley, finishes them off, and that's the game. And sure, Evarno made mistakes. I think the big one was how he pushed into the cap near the end, but he got away with it, bit of luck probably involved, and had a solid game. 138,000 damage, you know, bunch of shell hits, 5 of those torpedoes, 3 of them just a good guess of where that Alsace would be showing up, and managed to finish off the DD2, and the Team K away with the win. He got Dreadnought, high caliber, and a good game if you're just coming back to the game for a while. And you know, everyone makes mistakes, and I share videos here, and you'd be surprised how many people comment just being like, oh, completely worthless play, like blah blah blah. But he got the win, and he got a good XP game. You can see the damage across the board, really laying some into that Monarch, just getting good damage. And sorry, it wasn't the Alsace, it was the Richelieu that had pulled out straight into the torpedoes. Otherwise, some to the Donskoy, really just damage spread around. There weren't a lot of ships to shoot at, and a low population game like this, I'd say, does not favor these British cruisers as much, because you need allies to be out there spotting so you can kind of sit back. It's a much better second line support ship. Anyways, thank you Evarno for sending this in. I enjoyed it. I hope everyone else did. If you did, please consider giving a thumbs up or subscribing, and as always, I'm Qckslvrslash. I'll have another one for you all later.